So a big part of this summer is going to be thinking about what is your career and doing some exercises that will help you not so much prepare for them, but prepare to get ready for when you're ready to actually apply for those jobs and begin your career after you finish your education. Before we move on to that, Gabby and I spent some time the week, not last week, but the week before, on a couple of talks by a professional organization called APACS, which groups the administrators and professional and directors of programs throughout New York State, sponsored by CSTEP, which is the grant that pays for about half of you and pays for half of our personnel, pays for most of the symposium, for example. And the talk, the series of discussions we had were about the role of diversity, equity, and inclusion in higher education, and also how to think about the work that we do in the face of COVID and in the face of, well, what's going on right now, which I will tell you it's not just historical, but it's incredible the amount of support that, the amount of activity that people are actually getting up to, pushing for more social and racial equity. So before we move in, I wanted us to take a moment. This is one of the slides that Dr. Damon Williams showed us during one of those talks. And these are just some of the names, some of the people, some of the Black American citizens that have been killed in routine police, by routine police action. These are not, any of them were not criminals that were in the, running around with guns. Most of these people were just living. They were just, one of them, for example, Trayvon Martin, he just put on a hoodie and went to pick up some Skittles and walked back from the store. On the way down, he got shot by an asshole, and that asshole is walking around right now. George Floyd, like it was Breonna Taylor, her only crime was to fall asleep in her own home. And this happens disproportionately to the Black African-American community in the United States. It's not that is happening more frequently now. It's just that with the availability of everybody having a camera, everybody having a smart cell phone, we are seeing the actual reality instead of just depending on police reports. This has been going throughout the history of the United States with the thousands of Black people killed. No, I'm not talking 200, 300 years ago. I'm talking 100 years ago in the Red Summer of 2019, where thousands of Black people, innocent Black peoples, were killed by lynching over that year. Thousands. We're not talking one or two here or there. Towns were exterminated. Towns were made to flee. The case of Emmett Till, if you don't know who Emmett Till is, Google him right now. He is the linchpin that really, he is the George Floyd of the civil unrest in that push towards civil rights, the push for civil rights in the 1950s and 60s. He was a kid that was not just murdered, but his body was atrociously deformed, and read about it. I'm not gonna go that much into detail because we do have stuff to cover, but although all these names and all these people might seem distant to you, they're not. They're part of our community. They are brothers and sisters, to the point that, and I just found out about this an hour ago, Maurice Gordon was killed at the end of May by New Jersey police, New Jersey State Police at a highway on a transit stop. Maurice was a student at Duquesne Community College in New York. He was a CSTEP student, just like most of you are, and he was about to start his first research project this summer. And he's not, because he was killed. 6 shots in his body and he was unarmed. He had just been stopped by police. This is not just that happened disproportionately to the African American communities, that it's targeted to them by institutionalized racism, the fact that it prevails every structure of our culture and every structure of our government and every institution. Now, there's a lot of debate by many people about, does this really exist? Does institutional racism actually exist? Is this a real thing, or is it something we perceive? I can spend the next hour and a half, the next couple of days showing you pieces of data to demonstrate my point. I'll demonstrate the point that it does. But I am just going to show you one before we move on to what we were doing. And it's not so much a point of data, but just to take a look at our history. The United States is now a little bit over 400 years old. We're about 400 years old. Out of those 400 years, 250 years, we had slavery authorized and subsidized by the government, where we were allowed to own Black people. We were allowed to own Black bodies. We were buying them from people that brought them and then kidnapped them, put them on a boat and on a ship and brought them to America. After that, we had 89 years of segregation, where these people were free, but were not given a real personhood as we think we know right now. They were not allowed, in some cases, their own property. They were not allowed to have their voices expressed. They were lynched left and right, particularly in that summer of 1919. After this last Juneteenth, we heard a lot about the massacre in Tulsa. That was just one among the many similar instances that happened over that period of 1919 to 1921. And all these actions were legal, and they were allowed for the government. There were laws written on the state laws that allowed for a lynching, and people that lynch Black people were not persecuted. So 246 years of slavery, almost 90 years of segregation, when Black peoples were not allowed their own personhood and were not allowed full citizenship in this country. They were, most of them, brought against their will into, followed by almost 20 years of just fighting to get in the books similar rights so that there wouldn't be laws that actively discriminated against them. Only the last 50 years we have been able to begin the work of do efforts to promote some equity and some inclusion of everyone in society, in every aspect of society. How can someone argue that institutional racism doesn't exist when more than 80% of our history, this discrimination has been in the books? It's been authorized, it's been part of our laws. There's just no way for us to, in 50 years, completely go to the utopia of post-racial freedom, post-racial government that some people claim. It's just impossible. It's built into the history of this nation, it's built into our laws. There are still communities that and towns in which, in their laws, although they're not being enforced, but their laws in the book still says that no Black person can buy a property on that town. It's not enforced. If they try to enforce it, it's not going to pass, but it's still written down because, again, 85% of our life as a country, these things have not been allowed, but have been promoted. So if you're ever in the position where somebody questions that, remember that 85% of the history of this country, this was not just allowed, but encouraged. It was in our books, it was in the laws, and it's part, even if we don't try, even if it's part of our country, as demonstrated by everything that's happening right now. So that said, we will, I think Gabby and I have been talking, and we want to start keeping at least this conversation going on throughout the summer. And at least what my goal is to bring again one piece of evidence for every week to arm you to have these conversations if you want to and if you have to. This is the time to have them. And if you benefit from the privilege that I know I do, and the privilege that of not having to worry about being killed next time that you're stopped by the police because you were speeding, or the next time that you're not don't feel danger that you're gonna die on your own home just because somebody confused and saw a black a policeman enter your home confused what their rank draws, and they just feel that they can shoot you just because you were there. It's a time to start having these conversations with your family, with the people around you. It is not just the work of the Black people to fix this, it's everyone's work. Okay. So on to this summer. Actually, you know what? No, let's take a moment and let's just take a minute. I personally haven't really processed this. I found out literally 20 minutes ago about Maurice. I know the program director at Duquesne Community College. He actually applied to work at PRISM some years ago. He is a great guy. I am getting on the phone trying to reach him out after this because I don't know. I don't know. I cannot even imagine what he's feeling. So I would like if we can take a moment of silence for Maurice, and we'll continue in a moment. Okay, we move on and we start thinking also about our futures and about your future. As we discussed a couple of weeks ago, one of the things that we want to guide you over this summer is for you to conduct some career exploration. Try to figure out, try to clarify what your career aspirations are. And to do that, we're gonna do a couple of activities. One is the composite job post that we're gonna be going over today. I think next week we're gonna go again over IDPs. I know that about half of you have done them with us, but we're going to really focus on them and really focus on setting up goals to develop the skills that you're going to need, particularly in this post-COVID economy in which no one knows what the hell's going to go on. No one knows what the job market is going to be on next year. So now is the time to start thinking about it before you actually apply for those jobs. And the ones that are applying right now, we're going to also work with you to get you ready. And then the last one is going to be the informational interviews, in which we're going to prepare you to reach out to professionals and do informational interviews with them. We'll go about those details. We have actually hired an expert in the subject that are going to come talk to you on July 17th. And so this summer, we're going to be exploring the jobs related to your career aspirations. You all want to be a forensic scientist, a toxicologist, a physician, but generally what we think we want, that idea that we have in our head, there's no guarantee that it matches the reality. The only way to get to the reality is to actually experience it, since particularly for pre-med students, there's no way, no one's gonna let you poke and prod a patient until you actually go through the training. No one's going to let you run a lab or run a company or until you actually have the training and you start on the job. The best way to do that is to really look down what are the things that these people in these professions actually do on a day-to-day basis. What are the skills required to be eligible even to apply, to be successfully apply and secure those positions. And So over the summer, you're going to be creating this composite job post, which is basically a job post that you're gonna create by combining the commonalities found among many job posts online for those jobs. And finally, the other way to do this is to meet professionals in the jobs that you want and ask them about what did you do? What advice can you give me to get there? What do you consider success in that career? What is the most important things that you recommend that I do right now? Informational interviews have a particular format and particular guidelines. There shouldn't be free for all. You should not come to them prepared, and that's why we hired a professional. I can talk about them because the professional that we hired is a professional that I hired to teach me how to do that back when I was in industry. And but I wanted you guys to get it from someone that does this full time. So let's start talking first about the difference between a job and a career. Those two terms get thrown together all the time. Job is what you do to get a paycheck, is what you do on a day-to-day basis. Generally has a set of tasks and duties that you're responsible to accomplish. You report to someone or people report to you. It is focused generally on short terms, either what you do on the day, on the week, on the month. You're gonna have milestones to accomplish that are set by your employer. And in most cases, you use your education and the training to do the job and also to advance in the job. In other words, get promotions. A career is your professional journey, is the big picture. It's really about your life as a professional, not so much about what you do on a day-to-day basis. It's not very easily defined. It's a very fluffy term, let's call it that. Rarely follows a straight line. There, you can set yourself that I'm going to be the CEO of Fortune 500 company, and I'm gonna do this by doing this, and that. Life throws way too many random variables at you. So you cannot, there's no way to prepare. A great TV show that I just finished watching the first season that really illustrates this is The Politician on Netflix. That, for him, it was on his senior year in high school. That is a career of the number of things, the numbers of decisions that can influence where you end up. You pursue a career to reach your long-term goals. So if you want to have a career as an entrepreneur, then the jobs that you reach, the jobs that you pursue, the training that you pursue should be used to reach that long-term goal. And through that career, you're gonna use your skills, values, and interests to advance you in your job. And your job should advance your career. I'm not gonna lie to you, sometimes you just take a job because you have to. Hell, I've done it, we'll all do it at some point. But even if that's the case, you can use it, or you can try to figure out how to spin it to help in your career. Maybe you're not doing the job that you want, but there are ways to, through that job, learn skills that will help you when you make the jump to the job that you want. You just have to be aware of all the opportunities present to you. And by having an idea of what that career is going to be, no matter what the opportunity is, if it's directly related to your career or not, you can identify the opportunities available to you throughout so that you can then really focus on them. So, I just discussed this, but careers are not linear. They're often unpredictable. There were parts in my career where if you told me I was going to be having this job at John Jay and I was going to be doing this right now, I would have said, of course. There are points in my career where I have to, not going to happen. I'm aged out of that work. Don't have enough experience. I'm focusing on bench work. I'm focusing on jobs in industry. That's not going to happen. And 7 years ago, you would have told me that I was going to be here. I would have laughed at you. I wouldn't have accepted it really. I would have said that, that it's possible that they're going to create a job basically written to spec for me. Though that doesn't mean that you can plan. Even while I was in industry, even when I was doing jobs for a venture capital firm, I kept looking for opportunities to work with undergraduates and graduate students as a way to help them develop into scientists and make sure that they were aware of the many opportunities available to a scientist outside of the bench, outside of science. I have been working with SAGNAS, with the Leadership Alliance, for now 15, 20 years, even throughout jobs that were not necessarily related to education. And the reason for this is because also careers change over time. There was a time where I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to start a company that was going to help venture capitals do the beginning of setting up a company. That first year where you barely have any funds, where you don't have enough personnel, we're going to be basically, I had this idea of creating a company that we were going to advise these companies on how to better take that work. And I want to do that based on my experience of being employee number one in two companies. I then realized that if I went to pursue that line of work, I was basically building a career in which I was going to be unemployed most of the time, because literally I was putting myself limits. You will only hire me or hire us for the first year of your company, and then I'm again looking for a new job. And then around that time, I came to New York and visited with a friend that works at John G. and told me, hey, we have this program. They're looking for someone to help them. Why don't you apply? And now I'm here. So your goals and your careers will change, and can change over time. So what is right now that career for you? What do you want to be? You can turn on the microphone and tell us. You can write it down. What I strongly ask you is that, or what I ask you is, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, write it down. If you were right now looking into a crystal ball, and the question was, what is my career going to be? What is that? Write it down right now. Okay, would anybody want to share, like to share theirs?
Hello?
Yeah.
CSO or CISO of some organization.
Okay, that's a CSL?
CSO or CISO. It's
Oh,
Chief
okay.
of Information.
So then that means that you have to really start building your organizational and executive skills, and you have to start learning how to manage people. Anyone else? How about you, Gabby? Where do you, what is your career goal overall?
My career goal overall is to be determined. I see myself doing a lot of things, and it changes almost on a weekly basis. So I just sort of attack all of these at the same time. I see myself doing research in STEM education. I see myself starting a nonprofit at some point related with STEM education.
And then using that nonprofits to help us fund PRISM, right?
Yes, okay. Absolutely. Yeah, I see myself maybe running a lab, looking at how we can improve retention in the STEM fields of underrepresented people. I don't know. I have a lot of ideas and a lot of projects going at the same time, and I sort of make my decisions based on what I don't listen to me because I'm doing this complete opposite way.
Actually, you are doing something to promote your potential success in reaching that career. Have you told everybody what you're doing?
Oh, guys, I'm going back to graduate school. I'm getting another master's. It'll be in quantitative methods with social sciences, so that I can learn how to look at programs like ours and try to quantify our efforts try to spread the word in a scientific manner to other programs. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm starting with graduate school and I'm sort of going in a stepwise manner. I have a different, like a little project on the side of a paper I'm working on with a couple of collaborators outside of John Jay. Um, I work in addition to my job at PRISM. We like helping students. I also like get involved with the process and coming up with ideas. So all of that has to do with what I eventually want to do. So whenever I see an opportunity that I know will help me, I jump on it, and I suggest you do the same thing when you do this. When you get to this point, actually, you should be doing it now. So jump on opportunities as soon as they appear. That's what you want to do. If it's related to what you want to do, or if it's going to help you move forward, whatever it is, so that you want to do.
Okay, so that Tara chatted that she wanted to be a scientist at NASA. For a while I did too, and I'm ready to announce. I haven't settled down the particular time, but on the last day of the program, on July 30th, 31st, we will be listening to the person that I am very, very much convinced, and I know that you will too, who will very, very likely become the first Puerto Rican female astronaut to go into space. Actually, she's been to space only on the low parabolical orbit. No, actually, that's not space, that's stratosphere. But anyway, we're gonna be talking to Dr. Jahaira, forgot her last name.
Jahaira? No, Jahaira. It's Jahaira. Yeah.
Okay, so, there were other things there. Write it down. Okay, so I've already showed you this, and I want to update it. This is the advice that my mom gave it. I want to update it to what I think and with what I have learned. The perfect career and the perfect job for you is the one in which you have the skills, where you can do the job well, while also potentially learning new skills. A job or a career where you're interested in both the day-to-day, on the things that you do day-to-day, and also on the big picture goals of the work. And finally, work where you feel personally fulfilled. The worst thing you can do is end up in a job that you don't feel good about, because it's gonna be part of your life, just like your home life, your relationships are also, unless you're independently wealthy and can live a life of leisure, you're gonna be working. So you wanna do something that makes you feel good about yourself. So let's go about those three: skills, interests, and values. And we're gonna go a lot more into detail of them next week. But skills can be split in different categories. The ones that I have here are focused in STEM, focused in science. Of course, there are other skills important for many jobs, but for careers in science, you of course need to gain technical skills. That's why we beat you over the head in instrumental. That's why when you take microbiology, you have to, until you are able to streak a plate correctly, I don't let you leave the classroom. You want to have good communication skills too. You can have the best discovery, you can have the best idea. If you cannot communicate it, did you really have it? No, it sticks in your head, and sorry, it stays in your head. What is in your head is not really real. You should also have leadership skills, be able to, by leadership, that term is very fluffy, very new agey, very popular now. Everything is about being a leader. I define leader being able to influence and convince people, or at least being able to discuss with people and reach conclusions with them. You have to problem solve, because after all, science and research is about asking questions. You should have good interpersonal skills. No one works in a vacuum. Even if you work by yourself and have your own company, you still have clients to work with. So you want to be able to work well with other people through both be able to be personable with them, and also be able to work with them via teamwork. You should be able to manage. You should be able to not just tell people what to do, but be able to guide people in their work for you or with you. and particularly planning and organizing. Make sure that before you set out to do a job, you already know everything that might go wrong, and you have already mitigated as much as you can, so that if you end up having reaching a point where something went wrong, you don't have to just stop there. You know what, you have an idea of how to fix it already. That is the job of a scientist most of the time. By now, some of you have been in labs for a while, and you know that half the time in research, what you spend is solving problems and trying to figure out how come nothing works. And that takes planning. If you go into the research project thinking, okay, I'm gonna do this. If you think before, what are all the things that could go wrong? And you try to figure out, make sure that I have enough reagents, the glassware is clean, I have IRB approval, I have the cell line already arrived or is already on its way. If you can plan that before you grab the pipette and start mixing A plus B, it's gonna be a lot easier, and you're gonna be a lot more successful in your work. The point is not that you should be great at everything, is that you have to recognize which ones you're stronger at, cultivate those, and also use those to advance in your career. So if you are, you know that your teamwork and management skills are on point, then you know maybe what I want to do is become a lab manager, where I'm not gonna be so much in the bench, but I'm gonna be managing the people in the lab. If you are good at communication and technical, maybe you want to be a scientific writer. Maybe you want to be work in public policy for science. A friend of, or someone that I met recently, he just finished his PhD at UPenn. His name is Kevin Brugia. Actually, he came to Jonesy like 2 years ago with the people from UPenn. And he is an amazing science communicator. I went to see a presentation of his at SACNAS and completely blew me away. He just got a fellowship to do public policy fellowship, in which he's going to be working for, he's from Puerto Rico too, and he's going to be working for the main Puerto Rican newspaper, running their science column and running giving advice to their journalists on science stories, or stories related to science, so that to inform the reporting of science in the island. Now, interests, reveal of what are you interested about the work is usually one or the other. Is interest in interests. Yeah, interests are the day-to-day things of the work, and are very important, because again, this goes very much to how fulfilled you feel by your work. So do you prefer a job in which you work with people, with teams, or with clients, or someone where you're working mostly by yourself while reporting or having other people report to you? Do you want to do more clerical, technical work, meaning stuff mostly with your hands, or would you like to do more executive work, where what you're doing is, instead of actually doing the experiments, you're just looking at the data and analyzing it? Would you like to work outdoors, a job that involves being outdoor, or traveling a lot, or a job that involves mostly being indoors, or that doesn't have that much travel? A job in which you're responsible mostly for yourself and for your own performance, or are you responsible for the performance, for guiding the performance of others? Would you like your job to be public, in which you represent your institution, your agency, your company, your job, your lab, or private, where you are not the public face of something, or you don't represent your office or your group to some other parts of the company or the institution? Do you want a job in which you are going towards more self-benefit, somewhere where I am doing this so that I can grow and I can make my money and make my bread? And I love that phrase, by the way. I gotta give it to you, Zoomers. It's I now wake up every morning wanting to make my bread. Or where you want your job to be focused on benefiting others, sometimes at the expense of yourself. So you want to think, how important is each of those, and what of those can you live with or without? Sometimes you're going to have to compromise. I generally, personally, I would love a job that's very private, where I don't have to talk to other people and where I don't represent, but I'm in a position where I'm for the college, I represent our office in like 20 different meetings and organizations. So I've had to, something that I have had to compromise with, and I've had to learn how to be less, and believe it, or not. I am actually quite shy. It's just that I've learned how to fake it. So I've had to learn how to be more public as a professional. Then values, what is important to you as a person? What is really important to you to be able to feel fulfilled, to just so that your job is not just a job, but it's really part of your career? What do you want as a work-life balance? Some people want the fine 9 to 5, and then I go home and I do my things and I don't think about work. Some people enjoy being full-time and on the clock and really working like that over more time. That's also going to change over time. Sometimes when you're single and by yourself, if you have kids, of course, you want to dedicate some time to your kids, I guess. I don't know, I don't have any, but I do dedicate some more time, particularly now for my cats, which are like my kids. Do you want a job or do you need to feel that you're influencing, that you're creating a difference, that you're being an agent of change on whichever field that you want, or for whatever cause that you want? Do you want a job that has job security and job stability, meaning something that you're gonna get that job and then just stay there? Do you want something that has higher chances of promotions at the expense that it will have a little bit more less job security? Or do you want something in which you want a job in which you're going to be able to move between companies or between institutions or between offices regularly or whenever you want? For example, in that respect, I can tell you the biotechnology industry in the United States, job security is crap. It's particularly when you work with smaller companies, smaller than 100 person startups. When you work with a startup, your job security is almost nothing. The moment that the company doesn't need you, they're gonna drop you, not because you're bad at your job, but because they don't need you. The good thing is that there's a lot of, and particularly not right now, but I can tell you that in the next year or so, the amount of jobs in the biotech industry is gonna shut up as the investment in vaccines and treat antivirals go up. So although biotechnology doesn't have that much job security, there's always work. And it compensates quite high because they know that they don't offer that much job security. The earning potential, do you want something that has, again, and this goes to job security, somewhere where you're gonna make a lot of money but might not have as much job security, versus something that is steady as it goes and you have a guaranteed job but might not be as a higher salary as working for a more competitive field. For example, difference between job security and earning potential is working between the type of job that Dr. Gabby and I do between a public institution and a private institution. At a private institution, we might be doing more money, we might be making a little bit more money, but we would have no job security because our jobs would be tied to the grants instead of us being employees of the university. How important to you is it have to be personally versus professionally fulfilled. Some people don't care about being professionally fulfilled as long as they feel personally fulfilled. Some people require both. Do you want day-to-day stability? Do you want a routine, a job that has a routine where you come in and you have a relatively good idea of what's going to happen on that day? Or do you feel that that's, or do you want something that you're going to have a lot of unexpected, drop what you're doing, this is the new thing, move on? For example, in that case, a career that has low day-to-day stability and routine is consulting. The job of a consultant, you work for a company that offers their services to other companies, and the company is going to hire the consulting companies, tell them, okay, we have this idea for a product. We want to know if it's if the science behind it is valid, and will we be able to market? So the company hires their consultants, and the consultants have a month to become an expert on that field and to be able to provide their professional expertise to provide advice to the company that's hiring them. Next month, whole complete different company, whole complete different topic. And you have a week to become an expert and 2 weeks to come up with a solution. Do you require benefits and perks, or is that something that's not that important to you? Particularly in the US, you want your health insurance if possible, or whenever. But other perks, like for example, traveling for work, jobs that require you to travel between 5 to 50% of the time. What other perks? Like, for example, for us, people that work in higher education, generally that comes with, because we're working on a higher education institution, we sometimes can get tuition remissions. If we take a class here or there, we can take it for free, or they reimburse us for the cost because we're already there. And that's a perk that you have when working with in academia. Also location, do you want to stay homebound? Do you want a job that can send you to travel and stay for long periods of time elsewhere? Or do you want a job in which they're going to be moving you regularly? And for example, my friend Nadja, she runs a research, or she used to run a research lab in a chemistry company, and for a part of the project, she had to live in the Baja Peninsula in Mexico for a month while setting up the plant where they were going to produce the product she was helping develop. And she has kids, she has a husband, and she just had to figure it out and just drop the thing and go and live in Mexico for a month and a half. I almost got to go and spend some time with her. Almost, I didn't get to though. Okay, so what do we have so far after this exercise? You should have at least a sort of kind of defined career definition of your career aspiration, and a list of skills, interests, and value that are potentially important to you. Some things that you can live with, some things you cannot live without, and some things that you can compromise on. Understanding those will help you maybe not secure the first job, but once you're in a position to select between jobs, you'll be able, knowing what these different things and being aware of them will help you select between them. So when you relate the different jobs that you might be interested to your career aspiration, in some cases, I'm sorry. I cannot relate the title of this relate jobs to your career aspiration title to what I was supposed to say. I think the point of this slide was that by now you have probably noticed that some cases careers have an easy to define path or template. For example, if what your career goal, the end goal is to be the chair of the Department of Medicine at Harvard Medical School, you know that you have to go to medical school, do a residency in medicine with a specialization on a subfield of medicine as a field. So not surgery and not psychiatry. So you can potentially subspecialize in gastroenterology, or hematology, or the one about endocrinology, which are subspecialties of medicine. After that, you get a job at a hospital that's a teaching institution, and then you work your way through politics and end up becoming the chair of the department. In some cases, it's not so easy. There might be multiple paths or no template to follow. If you want to have a career as an advocate for social causes, I mean, I guess you can go to school at John Jay and learn about social causes and then use that to, but for those type of jobs, there's not really a career. Like, for example, if you wanted to be a career mogul, how would you start going that? What do you do? It's, I want to be a media, not a career mogul, a media mogul. And for that, there's not necessarily a path. But you can do that by looking at other people that have had the job, that have done the job. For example, let's imagine a certain young lady that a long time ago wanted to become, or maybe didn't even know what a media mogul is, but was ready to embrace it. And that person then underwent a degree in communications, which prepared her to be an on-air journalist. Out of that, person then moved on to be something more focused on herself, be a talk show host on a second or third, by now third or fourth job, potentially doing some acting on the side. So that they can, as you do that, you learn about other aspects of that career, not just the one in which you're the on-air journalist or talk show host. And after that, then you can say that, okay, I am now as the CEO of a multimedia company that has magazines, radio, movie channels, TV channels. And now, after all those steps, which you cannot go to college for, the degree in communications teaches you how to communicate better, doesn't teach you how to run a multimedia company like a media mogul would. So you, make it up as you go by identify the opportunities that will get you the skills and will allow you to develop the things that you're going to need for that next step. In the case of Oprah, you could argue that was stepwise by design or by chance or by, I don't know, maybe it was destiny. But at one point you have to wonder, does it matter if there is a path for the job that I want? Does it matter if if it's easy or hard? Because you want to make sure that you take advantage of his job to develop those skills that could be potentially good in the next help. Maybe you are in your job right now are not in charge of managing other people, but you can then ask the boss that manages to mentor you and say, I want to know, how do you do that? And you can use that opportunities to then learn those skills. Build experiences upon each other to prepare for the next one, and always being aware that the next opportunity might not be too obvious, and avoid self-excluding. Don't think that, oh, well, I'll apply to that internship later. I'll apply to that at some point. No, apply now. The worst thing that can happen is that you don't get it. The best thing that can happen is that, well, actually, is that you get it. So don't self-exclude and try to be aware of what you're doing and the opportunities that might not be obvious to learn new stuff while you're doing what you're doing. So again, this summer, we're gonna be doing 3 things. Actually 4 things when you think about it. We're gonna do one of the reflections. The first reflection that you were supposed to be working this week is to identify career aspirations and jobs that might build to that career. How do they relate to your strengths? How you're gonna use your strengths to get there. What we're gonna be doing over the next 3-4 weeks is creating the job post, which we're gonna discuss right now. On July 17, we're gonna start working on professional interviews, where you're gonna be doing your internet research to find those professionals. You're gonna define 4 or 5 questions related to information interviews to ask them, and you're gonna invite professionals to those for those informational interviews. And then you're gonna develop a plan, which we're actually gonna start next week by working on your individual development plan. So the job that you want in the future is out there right now. Yes, in some cases, there's brand new industry, brand new positions, brand new things that develop. Like, for example, in the last 10 years, this whole influencer thing, I still don't know exactly what they do, but it's a brand new thing, and there's not really jobs for it on Monster. But for most jobs that we know, there's someone hiring for them right now. So what you can do, and you can take advantage of this summer and the time that you're gonna spend with us, is to find them right now and prepare, either prepare for them now or develop a plan to prepare for them over the next year. How do we do that? Jobs, all jobs are advertised right now. 50% of the jobs posted right now on Monster, on other HR websites, were created with someone in mind, because most companies, for example, all jobs at John Jay have to be posted on CUNY first for a month at a minimum by law, because it's New York State. I think it's a month, 2 weeks, something like that. Even if I were to create I wanted to hire someone and I know who I'm gonna hire, I still have to post it. So with that in mind, by going out there and see what are the specificities of all those jobs, what are the particular skills that they're looking, the particular training, and knowing them, you can then, when presented with the opportunity in the future, you can take advantage of those opportunities. For example, this is the New York City HR webpage. So it's newyorkcity.gov/jobs. There you can look for any jobs in New York City. If you type forensic science, you can find there a bunch of jobs about forensic sciences, but all job posts, although slightly different from platform to platform, they're gonna have several commonalities. The first one, they're always gonna have a description of the company or the agency that where the job is. John Jay College of Criminal Justice is a CUNY, a senior college in CUNY that has this, and that. That language, actually, we have to, whenever we create a job post for a job at John Jay, we have to use the same paragraph. Then there's a description of the job. What are the responsibilities that that employee is going to have? Who do they report to? Are they going to have people reporting to them? What are the tasks they're going to be responsible? What are the things, the interests that this person should have? Is it a job in which you're going to be traveling? Is it a job where you're not going to be traveling? Is it a job where you're going to be working independently? Is it a job where you're going to be working directly under someone, or directly for various people? They're going to have also on the description of the company, they're also going to have this part up here where they describe the proposed salary range, some other specificities to the job that are not that relevant to what we're going to do, but are going to be there. And then the qualifications generally put as minimum versus preferred. So minimum qualifications, at a minimum, a high school diploma, a bachelor's degree. That doesn't mean that that's what they're going to hire. For example, for when we were hiring for the research coordinator for PRISM, but as a minimum qualification, it said that a minimum qualification, a bachelor's degree, but a preferred qualification was a master's or PhD, because I wanted to take advantage both someone that can do the job and someone that can help our students identify how to prepare for that, and what is the best way to prepare other people, to advise people if than having done it yourself. It's going to have a list of what education qualifications required. Do you need a particular training, a particular major, a diversity group of majors? Are there any particular experiences that you need? Is it technical? Do we need someone that knows how to use an LCM SMS backwards and forwards? Or we need someone that can work in general with any equipment or has experience on many analytical equipment? Is it someone that requires that you have taken training on a particular computer language, or versus someone that at a minimum should know how to use Microsoft Word and Excel? What are the skills, both soft, interpersonal, communications, versus technical, using particular piece of equipment, knowing a particular process, or being an expert on a particular process? There's going to be other additional information and information on how to apply to the job. Send a resume, send an email, include a cover letter, don't include a cover letter. That information is always going to be there. And as someone that has hired people, always read that section and follow it. The number of people that whenever we've hired people send me a 15-page application with 25 writing samples, when I don't care how much they write. I just care that they know what they're talking about. So read the requirements and measure what you add. Sometimes it's good to add additional stuff. I'm not gonna lie to you, sometimes that might be impressive, but read what it is and weigh it against, am I gonna send too much and annoy the person reading this? Are there residency, citizenship requirements? It's all gonna be there in the bottom. So you can find that in websites like Monster, Glassdoor, Indeed, LinkedIn, Science Career, which is put together by the AAAS, American Association for the Advancement of Science, has this webpage for careers in science. The Society for the Advancement of Chicanos and Native Americans have new job posts. I keep forgetting to update this slide with their logo, but that one, it's particularly in the natural and physical sciences. You can also go, if you are interested in working for a particular company or corporation, they're always going to have somewhere their own HR portal. Like for example, if you go to the John Jay website and you type jobs, it's going to guide you to their, it's going to give you these options, and you click on employment opportunities, and you get to this webpage where all the open job posts for John Jay are in there, and have links to the CUNY FAIR system where they're all stored. So here's the assignment, and you're gonna do this for 3 different jobs. By now you sort of have an idea of what the career you want. You can then sort of start looking at what are jobs that potentially you could have at different stages in that career. Entry-level jobs, somewhere where what they're looking for, someone with 5 or less years of experience. Mid-career professional, someone between 5 and 15 years of experience. Or a leader in the field, someone where they expect between 10 and 20 years of experience. So identify 1 or 2 jobs. For example, in my case, the first one would have been, for this job would have been a research, a higher education coordinator, followed by a program director, followed by, I don't know, president of the college. I think I would be horrible at it because President Mason spends most of her time talking to people and trying to get them to give us money. I don't like asking for money. I prefer to write grants for money. So I'll settle for dean. How about that? Not president. Then you're going to research and find job posts for each job. So for example, if you're interested potentially at the end of your career to become the president of a college, there are job posts out there for presidents, for deans, for provosts of a college out there. So you're gonna spend some time, a couple of hours every week, looking for them. How is the question that you're gonna ask me? Dr. Ed, how many do I look for? How much time do I spend on this? I don't know. I sent you last Thursday instructions of how I would do this, but that's not the only way to do this. This is a very open actual research project. You're gonna be doing research on your own about your career, jobs related to your career aspirations. So you're gonna do this for as long as you need, for as many as you feel that you need. Frankly, you get out of this as much as you put into it. My advice would be 1 or 2 hours per week spent Googling, online, looking, and then 1 or 2 hours per week analyzing what you found. You have, I think, it's like one every couple of weeks. I don't remember the calendar right now. So again, this is not homework, as I told you on the first week. You get out of this as much as you put in. So start looking for them. When you feel that you have enough and you're ready, that means you're ready. You want to do it with one only? Okay, do it with one, but not all jobs are the same. And you want to try to get a picture of that job, not just of the job in that one company or that institution, but the job as related to the job market. We're gonna be sending you an email with other places to look for besides Monster and Craigslist. For example, ONET, O little star net is this database maintained by the Department of Labor that lists a lot of the jobs that the Department of Labor then tracks for statistics. And I forgot to include that when I'll email you the link, and Gabby has a couple more that we're gonna email you. And then you're gonna create a composite job post for each one of those jobs. What are the skills that are present in all of them? What are the skills that are present in some of them? What are the skills that you have or that you want to develop that you're hoping that your job requires? You're gonna put that under skills. You're gonna put, do you want a job in which you have to travel 5% of the time, 10% of the time, 50% of the time? You're gonna put that in. And basically what you're gonna do is create a composite job post based on the ones that you research, detailing the job that you want, based on both the reality of what is being looked for right now in the field and also what you aspire to. Okay, so the next stage then is we're gonna focus on informational interviews. We're gonna start out on July 17. We're gonna have Lauren Celano, who's the CEO of Propel Careers, which is a boutique career coaching and HR support company in Boston that works mostly in the Northeast in the biotech and science, natural and physical sciences industry in the Northeast, mostly working with startups and smaller companies. So she does that work, and she works also with scientists that are between jobs or want to progress in their jobs, helping them develop individual development plans, helping them clean up their resume, prepare for interviews. And also she works with organizations like the Leadership Alliance, the American Association, the New York Academy of Science, talking to students about how to develop those skills. And as I mentioned, at a point in my life where I was in between jobs, I happened to find out about her and I hired her. And although at that point, everything that a lot of the things that I tell you about how to search for jobs is stuff that she taught me. So I figured, you know what? Let's bring her in. Let's get it straight from her instead of me going through me. Okay, that is it. Let me pull the assignments so we can discuss them real quick, and then we will be done. Okay, sure. Okay, not there. Ah, I remember now why. It's because it's in aha. Salud.
Bless you.
Thank you.
PowerPoint, Outlook. Oh, Jesus, right here. Okay. So this is similar to the calendar that you already guys received, but then in terms of your assignments, reflection number 1 in theory is done on Thursday. Should be, you guys got the topic and should be uploaded to your e-portfolio. During your meeting this week as a small group, what you're gonna be discussing with as a group, again, it's a 15, half an hour discussion. What is the progress on your MOOC? Which MOOC did you select? What have you learned so far? What are you looking forward to? And also talk about the work that you're doing in the lab versus if you join a citizen science project. And also that one, the topic is mostly so that you guys get to know each other as a group. Then next Friday, we're gonna be working on IDPs. By the end of the Thursday before we go on the long holiday for the 4th of July, the first job composite job post is due on Education 2. So start working on them. You have now 2 weeks to start working on the first. You can spend the next 2 weeks and work on all 3. Or you can go one by one. Take it on your time. You have until July 16 to upload all 3 to the education. I'm gonna be going every week to look at what your progress is. But on the first week, you should at least have the first one and go through the experience of creating one. Same day, reflection number 2 is due. I don't remember what the topic is. I'll have to pull it up. But the discussion that week is going to be about how understanding your strengths by doing strength finders and discussing that with Gabby impacted your career exploration, the exploration that you're doing. Are you using what the strength, what you discovered through strengths finders to guide your career exploration? And if not, how could you use it? Then over the next weeks, you upload a composite job per week. The next topic for the week of the second week of July is going to be discuss how the search for jobs and the creation of your composite job post is going. Exchange suggestions. What did you learn? I found this job. Take some time to talk about the exercise among yourselves. Then that Friday, we're gonna have the career panel with professionals in very different professions in science. So then the discussion over the next week is gonna be about the career science. What did you learn? What didn't you learn? What do you have questions for them that you want me to get you in touch with them to ask? Discuss what did you learn? What did you wish you had learned so that you can tell me so that I can do it next time. Then the week after that Friday, we're gonna have Lauren Solano. Then the assignment over that week is going to be to come up with what do you wanna do for your informational interviews? What type of professional you want to interview? What questions do you want to ask? You're gonna spend some time, we're gonna go over how to do your research on finding professionals. You can go through LinkedIn to your contacts. You can go through mine. You can go through Dr. Gabby. You can go through your mentors. You can ask for an introduction. You don't find anyone, then you go for Google and you start finding people and you start sending emails. Wait until we talk to Lauren about how to write those emails, but you can email them and talk to them that you would like to talk to them. And that day is the last reflection. And then the topic of discussion that week is going to be about the informational interviews. And then that last week, we're gonna be splitting in groups. And during that week, you should plan also to have your informational interviews. questions, comments, or nightmares? Hold on, someone is mowing the lawn. Oh, holy shit, this actually works. I don't hear the background noise anymore. Okay.
I have a question. So what section in digitation are we gonna upload the job post?
If you look for I haven't had a chance, but there's a template. And let me pull the education. See. Okay, if you Google, I'm sorry, if you go to the education and look for PRISM, one of the options, or look under my profile, look for me, you're gonna get to this template of sort of how it should look. Or not. Aha. So your portfolio should have a home. You can use it to put your resume, for example. Hold on, this is in, put it in Polish. Okay, where you can put your resume, you can potentially use it to, during your job search, include a link from your LinkedIn to your personal portfolio. You're gonna have a little page with an introduction about yourself, and then under career exploration, you're gonna create a section for your job composites. Also a section where you're gonna discuss your career plan, which is what I envision as my career. That one, it's basically write a little about what you talked about, what you discussed today, and then the different reflections are gonna be in different sections for Gabby to find.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we have to register our dedications under like a group for you to find them?
Yes, I think I have to tell them to add you to my group, and I haven't yet.
Okay. All right.
Anything else? Okay, then we'll see you next week. Remember, on Tuesday and Thursday, Gabby and I have office hours. And if you have any questions, make sure to email us. We'll send you, tonight I'll stop the poll and I'll tell you the time for, very likely gonna be this Friday, to do our movie night and what movie we're gonna watch. And then lastly, I'm missing something. Oh, make sure that those of you who are working with, that you have not received your invitation from your group leader to join, let Gabby know so we can then, make sure that they do. If you are supposed to be the group leader, start sending those emails, figuring out a time during the week to meet with your group and sending the calendar invites. And remember to invite me and Gabby, because at one point during the summer, we're just going to randomly pop it in. Oh, chats, okay. Yes, this week we're gonna meet this Friday. This one's gonna be shorter. We're just gonna be talking about your IDP and developing your goals. And we're meeting on Tuesday because Friday was Juneteenth, and Cuomo gave us the day to celebrate. Okay, then we'll see you next week, okay? Bye.
Wait, don't leave.
Oh, okay, I'm here.
Did you say that this Friday we have a meeting?
Yes.
Okay, copy that. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Dr. Ed.
Toodles.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Anybody needs me to stay? No questions? Okay.